Hello and welcome back to Game Theories. Today I'm going to be ranking some sitcoms into a tier list. So without further ado, let's get straight on with the video. Okay, here I have my tier list. So I'll go through the categories first. We have what a sitcom, put in the watch list, good, meh, don't bother watching. If you would like to do this tier list yourself, there is a link in the description to go and do that. So if you want to join in as well, that'd be cool. And then send us them on Facebook, Twitter, and we'll try and respond to as many as possible. But anyway, let's get on now to doing the tier list. So the first one, The Good Place. I've got to say, it's an easy choice for me. What a sitcom. The Good Place for me was such an enjoyable show. It had a great ending that actually fit. Every episode was entertaining, was really funny. The cast were brilliant in it. Overall, it was just thoroughly enjoyable, and it was one of those shows that you could easily binge watch. I think I watched 6 episodes a day at one point. I know, I need to bump up those numbers. But yeah, it was one of those shows that was easy, entertaining, and you just wanted to see it. And obviously, it was a show that actually ended really well. Okay, next one, The IT Crowd. It's definitely good. And it's probably definitely put in the watch list, but I don't think it's that top tier sitcom. I know, I'm sorry. I do like it, but I'm going to put in the watch list. The IT Crowd for me was one I could put on quite easily, and then definitely put in my watch list as one of those shows that was always entertaining and would always make me smile. But I don't think it's up there as one of the best sitcoms ever, because we need some difference between the best. But it's definitely one that you'd put in your watch list and you'd recommend to a friend. Oh yeah, you've seen the IT Crowd? If not, you should definitely watch it. And also, some of the clips from the IT Crowd are hilarious, especially the one about the internet browser one. Yeah, I'm sure you'll have seen that. Okay, on to Community. Now, Community, if I was just doing it on the first 3 seasons, I'd put it as what a sitcom. But the last seasons let it down for me badly, so for that, I'm going to put it as good. Community started off absolutely brilliantly. The setting of a community college brings out these amazing characters they have, and the ideas in the show, like doing different things for different episodes, makes it thoroughly enjoyable. It also carries a storyline throughout, but as people left the show's storylines went vastly downhill, and towards the end of the latter seasons, it was getting boring, almost like turn-offable at points. That's why I put it as good rather than what a sitcom, because the first season and first few seasons, like the paintball fights and stuff, honestly, some of the best TV episodes you could watch out there. The first few seasons, what a sitcom, but for the rest, just good. Okay, Bad Education, I'm also going to put as good. Bad Education was a series for me that was really enjoyable to watch. I probably wouldn't recommend it to a friend or put it in a watch list. I'd probably just say, if it's on, I'll watch it. If I can't think of anything else to watch, I'll put it on. But it is enjoyable. It definitely makes you laugh. And there's some funny humour. Not sure if it'll appeal to worldwide audiences, but if you're British, this is definitely some good British humour. Okay, Cuckoo. This one is a lesser known show. It is on Netflix and BBC iPlayer. I think it's a BBC show. It started off with Andy Samberg as the main character, Cuckoo, and has Greg Davis from Inbetweeners and lots of other things. It was a really funny show, and then they changed. Andy Samberg stopped being in the show, probably because Brooklyn Nine-Nine success, and Taylor Lorne, the one from Twilight's in it. So yeah, it carried on well. Generally quite funny. You have to leave reality at home for the show, but overall, I'd say it's definitely good. Okay, moving on to White Gold. I'm going to put it in the watch list. This show is if the Inbetweeners met The Wolf of Wall Street and combined into one, which makes it very, very funny. And it also has that camera techniques that they use in The Wolf of Wall Street, so it's very relatable. So if you don't know what the show is about, it's about a businessman who decides to sell windows instead of stocks. He sells window panels because it's called as white gold. They can make a lot by selling windows. It has half the Inbetweeners cast in. It's very, very funny. It's definitely one for an older audience, but this definitely has to go in your watch list. A very good British sitcom. Okay, moving on to a more classic British sitcom, The Vicar of Dibley. This one, again, I'm putting in the watch list. This show was hilarious and puts all sides of what the behind the scenes of a church can be like in a very funny way. But even if you're not Christian, you will find this very funny. There's some very funny jokes. The cast are amazing in it. The episodes are entertaining. and it is definitely one that you just have to watch. And if you haven't watched it, I would highly recommend it. It is on Netflix if you want to go and see it. Dawn French is amazing as the vicar in it, and for the time it was written, perfect, just does so well. Okay, up next we have Friends, which I'm also gonna say put in the watch list. Friends was always going to appear quite high. It is probably regarded as one of the greatest sitcoms ever, set in the 90s in New York. Rachel, Ross, Chandler, Joey, Monica, Phoebe, the gang. It's amazing. Loads of other sitcoms have taken from Friends and that coffee setting place and built on it and built on the show. Very funny. 10 seasons were great. Always good episodes. Always good. And it was always on TV. I don't think it's the best of the best sitcoms for me personally, but it's very funny and I definitely recommend it to a friend. And I mean, even if you do recommend it to a friend, likelihood is they've seen it. So it's a good conversation point for most people. If you're awkward conversation, oh, you've seen Friends? Yeah. Who's your favorite character? Something like that. Okay, back onto the British sitcoms and we have Outnumbered. Now this, what a sitcom. This show was absolute quality, especially in the original seasons. I think I found it even funnier because it kind of reflected what my home life is like. I'm an older brother like Jake is. I've got a younger brother and I've got a younger sister. And family life is like this. Perfectly incorporates what family life is like in the funniest way possible. The scriptwriters of the show literally let the younger kids who were like, it must have been 5 or 6 at the time when they did the show, just run with it. Didn't give them any lines. They gave them a scenario and just run with it. And it brings out some of the funniest stuff you'll see on TV. So hilarious. It is one of the best sitcoms ever, in my opinion. So good. Obviously, the older they got, the harder it was to keep that funniness. But every Outnumbered episode is absolutely superb and enjoyable. So it's definitely a recommend to anyone. And it is what a sitcom. Okay, we're on to Cougar Town. Now, Cougar Town was a show done by Courtney Cox, and obviously off the back of her Friends success, it was her big show back, another sitcom, and there was actually loads of Friends references in. I think Phoebe comes back and Chandler, and they do some funny things with the Friends reference and play on it. But overall, it was a very good sitcom. I probably wouldn't recommend it to a friend, but it's definitely an enjoyable one that you can put on in the background and you'll have a good time, or if it's on, put it on. It's very good, some very funny characters in it. Courtney Cox, was nice to see her as a role other than Monica. They're very different, the characters she plays in Cougar Town to Monica, but it is a really good series, great cast, and yeah, it was quite enjoyable. You can easily get through the 6 seasons. I think they're on Amazon Prime at the minute. So yeah, another good, enjoyable sitcom. Okay, moving back to the British sitcoms, we have Derry Girls. I'm going to put this in the watch list. Derry Girls is absolutely hilarious. It is so funny. It's set in Derry when the war is going on, so there's bombs. But it focuses on this group of girls and one lad as they go through schools and the times they have. It's very funny. Lots of funny jokes, always a good time, and you get the Irish accents too, which is always a good thing. Yeah, definitely one. It's a bit of an older sitcom, so it's not one you can watch with the whole family, but if you do watch it, very, very funny. Okay, on to That 70s Show. I'm going to put as good. That 70s Show, I know more for when I was at uni. One of my housemates used to watch this all the time, so I know. But if I was sitting in the living room with them, it was very funny to watch when it was on. Obviously, it launched a few careers like Mila Kunis, who has gone on to do things like Meg and Family Guy, and obviously Bad Mums. She's everywhere. But the show itself, That 70s Show, is really funny. It was just a good all-rounded, heartfelt show, and yeah, it's a good sitcom. Okay, moving on to Scrubs. This one has to go as what a sitcom. This, in my opinion, is one of the best sitcoms of all time. It is so funny. JD and Turk are such a good pair. The show has so many other numerous great characters. Dr. Cox, he's hilarious in it, and it shows you a bit of what life is like as a medical student who progresses through to a doctor, and they do loads of stuff. It's very funny, and it's actually one of the most medically accurate shows on TV. It's aged so well as well, so it's so good to watch. The only season that was kind of bad was the last season when Turk and JD became like professors and they were teaching a new medical class. I think that one was the only one that had any falters, but overall hilarious, can easily watch it, recommend for the whole family. so good. Okay, moving on, we've got Blackish. This show surprised me by how good it is, and it is what a sitcom. The show is so funny. It follows the Johnson family and their life, and it just has such good relationships between them, the kids and the parents, the grandparents, the wig, and all the things you'd expect. It likes to put a good spin on stereotypes. There's so many funny episodes, so many funny incidents in it. It's definitely a show I recommend to everyone who I see. It's so good. It is definitely what a sitcom. Okay, we're on to the Goldbergs now. The Goldbergs is another one I'd say put in the watch list. The Goldbergs is based off the creator's life loosely, other than the fact that the girl in the show is actually a boy. It's his brother, but he made it into a girl. A bit like the video game. In the show, it's actually what the real life family is like, but based off loosely off what happens in the Adam Goldberg's life. He's wrote this show. It's very funny. If you grew up in the 80s, you'd find it very funny. You'd relate a lot to it because obviously that's the time he grew up in. If you're watching it now, like myself, who didn't grow up in the 80s, it's still hilarious. You can still get on board. Really good show. The mother is hilarious in it. Yeah, and you can relate with your family life. Such a good show, definitely worth watching, and I'd recommend to most people. Okay, coming on to Turn Up Charlie, which if you didn't know was a short on Netflix that was created by Idris Elba. This one was an iffy one. It was meh here and there. Some of the episodes are good. Don't get me wrong, Idris Elba is really good in it, and it has a good storyline to it. Quite an easy watch, but again, it's kind of hit or miss if you like the DJ scenes or not. So for this one, I'm going to put it as, I'm probably going to say meh. I think it just, some of it hit. The kid in it's really funny, and Charlie, Idris Elba's character, is really good in it. But some of the episodes, it was kind of here and there, and others, it was like top notch. So I'm going to say meh. If it's on, it's okay. But yeah, I'd probably say meh overall. Moving on to the other two, this one, again, is meh. I think the reason this one is meh, though, is because of the expectations I think it had going into it. So it's about two siblings of a young star who's rose up from through like social media and becomes this professional singer. And it's written by the top writers of Saturday Night Live, so you expect it to be really funny, but some of the jokes don't hit. It wasn't the easiest of shows to watch. It wasn't one you could sit through and watch. I didn't find it particularly funny. Maybe it's because I'm British and it's definitely more American humor. But for me, it was definitely a meh show, and I wouldn't even be bothered if the second season came out. To be honest, I wouldn't bother watching it. So for me, it's definitely meh. Then we come on to Champions, which is the only one I think I'll probably put in this category. Don't even bother watching. Mindy Kaling stuff is often hit or miss. This one was definitely a miss. The show is in the right direction of what it's trying to portray. It just doesn't land a lot of the jokes very well. The acting is good in it, I'd say, but again, good acting on top of poor writing, on top of a show that's not really well-rounded, just doesn't fit, and it's one I'd say don't even bother watching. Then we come to Miranda, which is going in, put it in the watch list. Miranda Hart is one of the funniest people on the planet. She's a great comedian. I've seen her live. She's so funny, and the show just oozes that energy out of it. Has so many funny jokes, love stories in it, everything you want from a good sitcom, and is really funny. Is some of Miranda Hart's funniest writing. Quite short series because obviously it's a British series, so you only have 6 episodes per series, so you can absolutely breeze through like a series a day. So good. Obviously it has now a lot more well-known cast. Obviously Tom Ellis, before he did Lucifer, wasn't very well known, but he was in Miranda, and him and Miranda, the chemistry they have on the show is awesome. Such a good show. They put it in a good place, like the setting of it in the shop and stuff, and Miranda's home life and the cafe. Yeah, overall enjoyable. Anyone in the family can watch, and they will be in stitches the whole time, so definitely put it in the watch list. Now we move on to Man Like Mabeen, which is a shorter one. I think the episodes are 20 minutes. This was on BBC iPlayer. It's a BBC show that went on BBC 3 and is on Netflix. This one surprised me by how good it was. It is very funny, and for that reason I put it in the watch list. Man Like Mabine is a quality show. Mabine, the main character, is very funny. How he deals with situations with his family, especially with his little sister. Very funny show. I think a lot of people can relate to it. Very short episodes. There's not much to say about it because they've done 3 seasons of 6 episodes, British series, but they're like 20 minutes. But if you get a chance to watch it on Netflix or if you on iPlayer, I definitely would recommend watching it. Okay, then we have Never Have I Ever, another Netflix show. This one surprised me by how good it was. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it is, so I'm going to put it in the watch list. This one really took me left wing. I watched it as kind of nothing else is on, I'll try it, and I ended up getting absolutely hooked to the show. It's very funny. If you've got teenage siblings or you obviously you can all relate if you've been a teenager, then you can understand where some of the things the main cast of girls feel in the show and what's happening. And it's like, yes, we've all been through those problems. They're quite relatable. The jokes hit very well. Overall, good rounded show, and had its ups and downs in the show in terms of the character development, the drama in the show, as well as the hilariousness that is the show. So overall, Never Have I Ever, definitely one to put in your watch list. We then come to a classic. If you're from the UK, you already know where this show is going. If you're from the rest of the world, I want to know whether you've even heard of it, and if you have you watched it? And if you've watched it, you'll know where it's going, because it's a pretty simple answer. Gavin and Stacey, what a sitcom. Maybe the best sitcom ever. If you're from the UK, this is like the holy grail of sitcoms. It is so funny, such a good story. Everyone's invested it. When they did a Christmas special a couple of years ago, I think it was one of the most watched things in recent years. It is unbelievable. It follows Gavin, a Essex boy, and Stacey, a Welsh girl, and the adventures they go on with their friends Nessa and Smithy, played by James Corden and Ruth Jones. Obviously, a lot of Americans don't know this was what we knew as James Corden, not the James Corden late night show version. We knew him as Smithy. Smithy's done some funny things with Comic Relief as well, if you've seen any of them. Gavin and Stacey, honestly, is just top tier. How can we forget about Pam from Gavin and Stacey? Yeah, honestly, top tier show. Best sitcom in my opinion. If you watch it, you love it. I don't know anyone who dislikes Gavin and Stacey. For me, top tier sitcom. It has to be What a Sitcom. Then we come to How I Met Your Mother, which I'm also going to put as What a Sitcom. For me, How I Met Your Mother took what Friends did and just evolved it into an even better show. And obviously the fact that he's talking to his kids about it just gives it that extra feel to it and realness. It was a really good show, spanned 9 seasons, had its ups and downs, very funny always. You can always rely on How I Met Your Mother to just entertain you. For that reason, it's great. And obviously I think maybe I relate to it more than Friends because of the age group I grew up in. Maybe if I was slightly older than Friends, I'd relate to more, so I'd find that better. But it just took that Friends formula, redid it, and made this amazing show. So for that reason, How I Met Your Mother is What a Sitcom. Then we come on to The Inbetweeners, which again is one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. The Inbetweeners has to be What a Sitcom. Whether this show would be allowed today is another question, but the show is so funny. It's about 4 lads, Will, Jay, Simon and Neil, as they go through sixth form life and all that entails, trying to be cool, trying to get into house parties, trying to cope with asking girls out. All the stuff you feel when you're 17, 18 is just embedded in this one show in the most funniest way possible. It is one of the funniest shows you'll ever watch. The jokes just hit differently. The Americans tried to copy it. The American version of The Inbetweeners, if that's the one you've seen, don't bother. That is a don't bother watching. This, though, is What a Sitcom. The English version, so funny. I don't know anyone who's watched it without laughing. And honestly, it is just a joy. Even if you just watch the clips, so funny. You'll be in literal hysterics. And you can relate to it so much. Whether it would have been made today is another question. I don't think if they'd made it today it would be as funny, but this is a golden timepiece for when it came out. and it's just a golden sitcom forever. So funny. Then we have a show very similar to the Inbetweeners, Drifters. I'm going to put it in the watch list. This again is a bit like the Inbetweeners, except it was with 3 girls rather than 4 boys, and these 3 girls were going through that early 20s when they're getting jobs and stuff and have to try and work out how they're living, how they're coping with money. So it's kind of like Inbetweeners' next step, and obviously all 3 of the actresses, I think, were in the Inbetweeners movies. They are very funny. It's that same sort of comedy humor. It delivers well. It doesn't quite deliver as good as the Inbetweeners, but it's definitely one to put in your watch list. Then we come to Melissa and Joey, which is one of my all-time favorite sitcoms. What a sitcom, I'm going to say it definitely is. This show for me was very good. It follows the lives of Melissa and her nephew and niece, and then she needs to find a nanny, so she ends up hiring Joey, and the story evolves from there, and you get to see this love story blossom between Melissa and Joey and the kids. You get to see them grow up on the show. Very funny, has loads of twists and turns, was always entertaining, easy to watch. And yeah, it's one of those shows that I wish was on streaming services because I'd literally binge watch it. It's definitely what a sitcom. Then we come to another family sitcom, Modern Family. This show just hits different gears. Modern Family, one of my favorite sitcoms of all time. It just follows the lives of this one family where you have Jay and Gloria at the top as the grandparents, except Gloria's the same age as Jay's oldest kids, so you get that dynamic. Then you have Claire and Phil and their kids, the Dumfies, and then you have Mitch and Cam and their kids, and overall it's hilarious. It has some of the funniest moments, interactions, and obviously if you watch the seasons, if you watch from season 1 to season 11, you literally see the kids grow up, like Luke and Manny. You see them, and Alex, you see them as little kids, and by the end of the show they're finishing college, they're finishing university. It's such a good show. It has such a good storyline throughout, very funny, always funny moments, compilations. Such a good show, and there's definitely a character everyone can relate to. Whether you're more like Haley, whether you're more like Claire, whether you're more like Gloria, you'll find a character you can relate to. Very, very funny show. It's definitely what a sitcom. Then we come to Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is fantastic. As a police show, as a comedy, it's amazing. It has to be what a sitcom. This show follows the 9-9 precinct in New York, has some very funny characters. Jake, Charles's best friend, Amy Santiago, Rosa, and the Sarge, Terry Crews is in it. He's great. The captain, so many of them, follows them on their police journeys, and it does policing in the funniest way possible. The whole show, the chemistry the castmates have together is so good and just adds to the show. Always a funny moment. I think the different types of cast members they have on it, the different types of characters they portray, gives it that edge that just makes it so good. And again, it's another show that you can relate to at least one character in it, and it is so funny. So for that reason, it has to be what a sitcom. Then we come to Lovesick. Lovesick surprised me. I'm going to say it's good. It follows the story of a guy who has STDs. Now, that's not something you really want. And the worst thing is, you then have to tell everyone who you've been with that they may also have an STD. So on this journey, he has to ring up or text these people, but then you get to see the story of how he met them and how this love relationship he had with them formed. And it's really good because the show keeps flicking between past and present, and it works on that scale, but it also is very funny and a very good twist on romance, on how it happens and how can he rekindle with some of these people. The cast are hilarious in it, really good funny jokes, but yeah, it's generally a good sitcom. Probably wouldn't recommend it to a few people because it is kind of more of an acquired taste, but if you do get a chance to watch it, you should definitely watch it. I'd recommend, really, but I just don't recommend to certain types of people. But yeah, it's a good romantic sitcom, and the time travel aspect thing is quite cool, where it goes from the present to the past to the future, all that stuff. Yeah, so it's good. Then we come to New Girl, which again, I'm going to say is put it in the watch list. Is one of those shows you can watch with the whole family. It's very entertaining. The story of Jess and her flatmates, Nick, Schmidt, Wilson, Jess's friend. There's so many good characters in it. The relationships they have on the show. Some of the best one-liners you'll ever hear comes from New Girls. The cast themselves work so well together. The adventures they have. It's very funny and it's definitely one I'd recommend to most people. Okay, on to our penultimate one, The Big Bang Theory. For me, The Big Bang Theory is just good. It started off really well and I really did enjoy the seasons, but as it got on, you could clearly see the show was running out of ideas, and I think the fact that it was so hyped made it worse because they kind of just kept putting out these episodes. I think if they'd shortened it and left it at a certain point, it may be up there as what a sitcom, but for me, the episodes got worse as it went on. So overall, I'd have to give it a good. And I just think it was because it got so big that they just kept carrying it on when it would have probably been better short because they clearly had run out of ideas, if you get what I mean. But it's a very funny show. Sheldon, obviously, the key highlight from The Big Bang Theory. But yeah, it's definitely just good. Okay, the final one. We're ending on Trolleyed. Trolleyed for me is a put it in the watch list. Trolleyed is a show set in a supermarket and you get to see all the ins and outs and behind the scenes of what supermarket life as staff is really like, and it is done in such a funny way. I think Trolleyed was released before Superstore, so I think Superstore was probably got the idea from Trolleyed, but Trolleyed is absolutely hilarious. We get to see the supermarket staff and their adventures and some of the funniest things that goes on. It's definitely got some very, very funny jokes and it's definitely worth a watch. So that's why it's put it in the watch list. And that concludes my tier list. There it is, sitcoms ranked. Yeah, I think I've done a good job. Do you agree with me? Do you not? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you smash that like button and why not share this video on social media. As well as telling me whether you liked my tier list and agreed with me or not, also tell me what your favourite sitcom is down below and your recommendations. If you're new to the channel, why not click that subscribe button for more film and TV videos every week, including theories, top 10s, reviews, and so much more every Tuesday and Friday. And if you like Then and Nows, make sure you join us on Sundays for our Then and Now Sundays. So you're going to want to click it. If you subscribed and awesome like that, make sure you also click that bell button so you never miss a new video. And if you want even more content from us, make sure you check out our new reaction channel, Got Reacts. There'll be a link in the description to go out to it, where we do a video not once a week, not twice a week, not 3 times a week, but every single day of the week. So there'll be something you're going to want to watch on there. So make sure you go and check it out. As I said, a link in the description. Also, if you want to support the channel anymore, then also there's a link to our Patreon. Go there for exclusive perks, exclusive content, if you want stuff like that. As always, you've been watching Gate of Theories. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on Sunday for a brand new Then and Now. Thanks for watching, guys.
I think I'm overdosing.